What's up, everyone? This is Kronos, aka Adam, back with another installment of the Week in Review for WWE for the week of April 27th, 2020. As always, what I'll be doing is recapping and reviewing all of WWE's programs for the week: Raw, NXT, and SmackDown. So please don't forget to like and share this video, as well as subscribe to my channel so I can get a normal URL. I've gotten not many views, but I mean, let's face it, I'm just starting out. Also, you can find me at my social media here, both Twitter and Instagram. Like and share, and let's see if we can grow this. So anyway, what I did this week is I'm going to try and speed it up a little bit, because I know I dragged and maybe put a little too much detail in my reviews. So what I'm going to do is also I'll be putting in time codes, so if you only watch a certain program or you only want to hear my thoughts on a certain program, they'll be down in the the description section. So I typed out my notes this time, so hopefully it'll be a little easier for me, and also I won't be shuffling papers, and I'll be able to look at the screen still, so it looks somewhat more professional. So anyway, let's jump right into it. This is the week right before Money in the Bank. We have next week's go-home shows for Raw and SmackDown, and then we'll have Money in the Bank. I plan on doing both a preview predictions episode as well as a results episode. I'm not sure what kind of stuff I'm going to add to it. Kind of have some ideas, but obviously it usually helps when you get some people to actually watch your stuff for you to be able to do it a little more. Anyway, so let's jump right into it. We're going to start with Monday Night Raw, and in a very happy surprise, Samoa Joe's back on the commentary desk, back by popular demand. You can't have Raw without the rawest guy in the room, according to Joe. Bye-bye Jerry Lawler. I just really can't stand him anymore, and I think he's just he doesn't add anything, so I'm happy Joe is back. He actually is very insightful, and kind of reminds me of like a Taz-like to AEW. So we start off with the MVP lounge the VIP lounge with MVP. He's got futons in the middle of the ring. Doesn't seem very VIP to me. He's bringing in all the contestants for Money in the Bank, everyone who's qualified. So we have Rey Mysterio, we have Aleister Black, we have Apollo Crews coming in. And he's supposed to interview them all, but he just cuts them off, says he already knows what they're going to say until he gets to Apollo Crews, where he's about to let Apollo Crews speak, probably because he beat him the week previous, so that's his, quote-unquote odds-on favorite. And then Zelina and her crew show up. I mean, they, obviously they become the focal point of Raw because of so many people not being able to be there or not wanting to be there. Personally, I really like all the competitors in that group. I'm just getting really frustrated because I don't know what they're doing. They're not really that strong of a group, and you'll see through through my discussion today. Who knows what really is going to happen with them? But anyway, so they come down to the ring. Zelina wants them to actually give up their Money in the Bank spots to her three, even though Austin Theory already lost to Aleister Black. A fight breaks out, and in typical stupid WWE commentary, Tom Phillips says, what's going to happen with these 6 people when we go to commercial break? We all know exactly what's going to happen, and lo and behold, 6-man tag. So we have Andrade, Garza, Theory versus Rey, Aleister, and Apollo. We get a nice little, rekindling of the rivalry between Rey and Andrade. It's always good to see them wrestle each other because they're both so good at what they do. It does get a little frustrating because it's just over and over and over again, and now we don't even know what they're really fighting for anymore. We get a stereo somersault planches by Crews and Black to the outside, go to commercial. Then we come back. Black is taking a beating for a while. They isolate him, multiple tags. Finally, he gets the hot tag to Apollo Crews. Crews cleans house for a little while. Eventually, we get an Andrade back elbow on Crews, and everyone's fighting on the outside while this is going on. And then Andrade tries to get his hammerlock DDT. Crews counters into the pop-up powerbomb variation. You can see Garza's trying to get in there, but he's held down. Crews gets the 1, 2, 3 on the U.S. champion, and they win the match. So yet another loss for this stable. I don't know what's going to happen. Now, something that goes on throughout Raw's 3 hours, which can be a slog to get through these days, obviously. Excuse me. That third hour is just really, really tough to get through at this point, especially because of the no crowd and the fact that they're trying to figure out what they can do to kind of span 3 hours. So on the heels of Triple H's 25-year anniversary, they did the top 10 defining moments of Triple H's career. I'm not sure how many of these are the defining moments, but they were, I guess, notable moments. So I'm going to run through them all 10 right now just to kind of get them out of the way, so just make it easier. So we start off with 10, which is the new formation of DX after Shawn Michaels lost to Stone Cold with the help of Mike Tyson at WrestleMania, and then was out without injury. This is when he, the longest, I guess, iteration of DX with the New Age Outlaws and X-Pac. So there's that. Then the number 9 moment was Mania 2015, which is Triple H versus Sting, which was a okay match. The NWO came out to get Sting's back, and DX came out to get Triple H's back. Triple H wins with the sledgehammer. They shake hands. Number 8 is the first SmackDown main event title match in 1999 between The Rock and Triple H, where Shawn Michaels super kicks The Rock to help Triple H retain. Number 7, July 2000, where it's when Trish comes to backstage to Triple H's locker room. Apparently they're supposed to have some kind of mixed tag match, and she asked for him to show moves. It looks like he's, getting a little frisky with her when Stephanie McMahon walks in and flips out, and I don't know how this is a defining moment. Number 6 is King of the Ring 1997, where he wins, eventually beating Mankind in the finals. I actually just recently watched that. It's pretty good. Number 5 is November 2019, very recently, where Triple H, as the head of NXT, invades SmackDown, where he comes down in the mini tank with Road Dogg, and they pretty much dominated went on to dominate Survivor Series as well, making NXT basically the third brand and not just developmental. Number 4 is June 2006, where DX mocks Vince and Shane, where Triple H does his best Vince impression and Shawn Michaels does his best Shane impression. It was very funny, classic. Number 3 is February 2003, which is his creation of Evolution with him, Ric Flair, Batista, and Randy Orton. They were recently inducted into the Hall of Fame as well. Number 2 is April 1998. DX invades WCW Nitro. That's the famous DX tank. And finally, 2001 is in January 2002, when Triple H returns at Madison Square Garden after 8 months out with injury. I don't know if that's his most defining moment. It's, I guess, because it was a huge pop and he was out, and I think this was his first major injury. So yeah. Anyway. So now we cut to a backstage interview with Andrade and Zelina with Charlie. Apparently he's blaming his stablemates as to why he lost, so already we're seeing cracks. I don't get it. I don't know what they're doing here. They walk out of frame. Apollo comes into frame. He is happy, says that he could beat him in a title match, no problem. Andrade comes back. They start jawing at each other, and then, which might be my moment of the week, is the slap. The open-handed, just paintbrushed, loud slap from Apollo Crews to Andrade. I mean, Zelina's face was absolutely in shock because of the pop. But apparently Apollo is going to get a title shot for the U.S. title later tonight. Then we get a recap of Drew and Rollins. There's going to be a contract signed tonight. We all know how those end up. And then what was billed for, the last couple of days before Raw, we were going to get a triple threat match between Asuka, Shayna, and Nia. This was just absolutely just nonsense, stupid WWE booking, just fucking stupid. So before the bell even rings, a fight breaks out. They're all going at each other. The fight goes to the outside. Both Shayna and Asuka come into the ring. Nia comes into the ring with a ladder, hits them both. They fall through the middle ropes outside, and then Nia's music plays. She holds the ladder above her head. What the fuck? What the fuck? It wasn't a... The match didn't even start. It's a no DQ match because it's a triple threat. And the purpose of the match wasn't to knock your opponents out of the ring through the middle rope with a freaking ladder. I get that they don't want someone to take the pin on this. They could have figured something out, or don't have the match. Plain and simple. Or have a one-on-one match and one of them gets involved. Done. So stupid. Just nonsense booking. These are the type of things that people just get so angry about when they watch WWE and think about the booking, and then give them license to talk shit about the product, because this makes no sense. Anyway. So then we get a Lashley versus Denzel Dejournay. Perennial jobber right now. He doesn't want... Lashley does not want Lana to come out there because her beauty is distracting, but we can already see the cracks in the relationship and where this is going. Squash match. Hits him with a spear. Lashley wins. Dunzo. Next, we get a little recap of Liv Morgan and Ruby Riott, their history, and then the match that happened last week where Liv won. Ruby takes advantage. They have a match. Ruby takes advantage early, talking a lot of smack. Once again, just a credit to the fact that the arena is empty, so you get to hear a lot more, both the physicality and the trash talking that goes on between the wrestlers, which is really good. But it's a short match. Liv once again hits the surprise springboard flatliner, which she's now calling the Oblivion, for the win. So now this is 2 wins in a row. I'm not sure really what they're doing with this, because let's face it, now she's won 2 matches. Where does it go from here? Now Ruby's just going to attack her from behind a couple times, or who knows? That's pretty much it. It's the feud is over, essentially. You should have given Ruby at least one of these wins, because now, okay, done. Then you get this brutal post-match interview with Byron. I'll give Liv a little bit of credit for this. I mean, she just got done with a match. You can tell she's huffing and puffing. She's obviously, she's obviously, I guess, what they call in the business, blown up. So it just doesn't make any sense. She's got to find herself. She's got to figure out who she is. But I thought she did find out who she is, because that was supposedly her gimmick. When she came back, she finally figured out who the real Liv was. Apparently not. It just goes back to what I've been saying. I think they've just absolutely ruined her from the minute she stepped back, on the scene here. Anyway, then we get this another stupid backstage interview with Nia, where she just says no one can stop her and they can't do anything, and she just screams, and it's just bad. Sorry if you hear some birds chirping in the background. This is early in the morning review, just because it's easier to get it done. So then we get a Viking Raiders promo with the red light in the background. At least they're not doing carpool karaoke from the week before. That was awful. But they challenge the Street Profits, and make a lot of sense in the fact that Street Profits haven't beaten them. They won the tag team titles in NXT when Viking Raiders came up and gave up the titles. Street Profits won the Raw Tag Team titles when apparently the Viking Raiders were injured and were unable to compete. I don't think they gave up the title. I think they lost to the OC and then were off TV for a little while, so I'm assuming that was because of injury. So they're now challenging the Street Profits. So that should be a decent match. We get the return of Jinder Mahal, former WWE champion, which I find weird is that they announced that, but I guess they just had to do it so they can give Jinder some cachet. Because normally they don't say, when someone comes to the ring, and former champion, unless you're like Baron Corbin, who had that long extended preview by the announcers every single time he came out. Anyway, he faces Akira Tozawa. There's little offense given by Tozawa. I mean, he gets his running cannonball on the outside at one point, but they give Jinder a pretty decent win here, a pretty easy win. He uses his finisher, the Colossus, and so it looks like we're going to be seeing more of Jinder, possibly, some other ways too. I'll get to that a little later. So then we get another backstage interview with Zelina and Andrade. I mean, this is now 2 interviews and a pre-match segment and then a match for them. Charlie will now only address Zelina because Zelina said, you're not talking to my guy anymore. You're only going to address questions to me. They leave, and then Angel Garza shows up again and flirts with Charlie. Damn you, Angel Garza. You're freaking engaged, man. Stay away. Stay away. Anyway, so now we get the Andrade Cruz U.S. title match. More Andrade. So it's a standard match back and forth. A lot of mat-based stuff. Pretty good, showing both what they can do. Goes to outside, and then Cruz attempts to do a moonsault off the apron. Lands on his feet, but sells that he has a major knee injury, and he's trying to do the best he can, getting a lot of offense in where he can. Even does his standing moonsault in the ring, but eventually he goes down, and to the point where looks like he's legit hurt, and the ref has to stop the match. Andrade keeps trying to go after him, but the ref pushes him away and stops the match. Apollo Crews looks visibly upset by this. More on that a little later. And yeah, so the match ends in a no contest. Obviously, Andrade retains, and we just see Cruz just looking like, in real pain, wincing very hard. We get the Street Profits. They at first start making fun of carpool karaoke Viking Raiders, but then they get serious and they fully admit Viking Raiders haven't beat the Viking Raiders. They didn't beat them in NXT. They haven't beat them on Raw, and therefore they accept the challenge. So that sets up a match. We get next Ricochet and Cedric Alexander versus Everrise from NXT. One of them is actually the model Rick Martel's son. Fun fact. They get a little more offense. Speaking of Everrise, than I expected in this match. But as usual, it's a win for Ricochet and Cedric. They use Ricochet doing a drop kick off the middle rope into the back of one of Everrise, and then it's a combination with a flatliner by Cedric. Looked brutal though. The guy's face slammed against the mat. Looked really good. So then they win, and as they're celebrating, MVP shows up on the Tron. Okay. Saying that he's going to introduce a new tag team, Shane Thorne and Brendan Vink, who they already beat, and for a match next week. Okay. I mean, is this some kind of push for Thorne and Vink? If not, all they've done is lose. I haven't seen either of them win a match at all in the last several months that I've seen them. Yeah. So I don't know if maybe MVP is going to, kind of cheat and help them get a victory, and then that way it starts a little program with this team, or I have no idea. So I'll give it the benefit of the doubt, but obviously it's not going to be good. I have no doubt in my mind it's not going to be good. All right, so then we get a promo for Money in the Bank, and we actually get a look at the construction of the roof of Titan Tower. There's going to be a ring on the top of Titan Tower, both briefcases suspended above, which I'll get to later. I'm just curious who's going to do the Hans Gruber and fall off the roof. I mean, it looks like it's set in enough from the sides, from where the building ends, that it wouldn't. Unless someone literally just does something crazy and runs over there, it's going to stay primarily in the ring. And I'm sure they'll put barricades and everything out there to be as safe as possible. But I mean, it just lends itself to that kind of thing going on. Then we get backstage. Apollo Crews on crutches. He's in near tears. Can't even say anything. So he's out. And we later find out during SmackDown that there's going to be a gauntlet match for the final spot. I don't get it. I mean, it looked like they were pushing Apollo Crews. I think he could have done some really cool stuff in this match. I mean, he's super athletic. And I don't get it. I don't know why they would do this to him. Yeah, I mean, obviously, benefit of the doubt, maybe he gets back involved, maybe they're just selling this injury and he goes back into it to re-earn his spot. But I just think that would be ridiculous that he would have to re-earn his spot after he already won. I don't know. And finally, we get the contract signing. Lawler is back. Lame. Both come out. Drew tells Lawler to leave because he knows how these usually end. So we don't get a lot of Lawler. Drew right away signs because he wants to get this over with. He wants to get right to what we know is going to eventually happen here. And then Rollins, before he signs, starts going off, that he doesn't want to do this, but he has to, same kind of shtick he's been doing, that he's the savior. And when it comes time for Drew to be champ, Rollins will give him a shot. But the best part of this, of the entire, maybe even the show, besides the slap by Apollo Crews, Drew says, "It's clear to everyone. Thank you for telling this. Thank you for telling us this. It's clear to everyone. You're full of shit, Seth." And I lost it. I marked out for that because I just thought that was funny. It's never Seth's fault, that his followers are gone, the fans turned, etc. And then Rollins finally signs. Drew slams Seth's face into the table, destroys the set, just throwing the chairs, the table, everything, and goes for a beatdown. And then Murphy comes out and attacks Drew, tries to help up Seth. Seth doesn't see who's helping him up. It thinks it's Drew at first, about to swing, looks at Murphy. They look at each other for a quick second. Seth embraces him, thanking him for, helping him out. And Drew is about to go for a Claymore kick. Murphy sees that, pushes Seth out of the way, takes the sacrifice of the Claymore kick, and then Seth runs out of the ring, and we go to the credits, and that is the episode of Raw. All right. Now we're going to go to NXT for April 29th. We started out by finding out that Morrow and Beth are back on commentary. There were definitely some issues with it. They obviously weren't on location. It sounds like they were doing some kind of like Zoom or Skype, because Morrow, who sometimes does talk over people, whether it's Nigel or Beth, he did it more often and more pronounced than normal. And obviously, he apologized. He allowed Beth to finish what she was saying. But the problem was, just you could tell that they were not there, and they were kind of listening to it, watching it live and kind of doing their own thing. Even Tom Phillips was there, but he barely added anything. He barely said anything more than a few sentences, maybe at all. Anyways, so we continue with the interim cruiserweight tournament. So we have Swerve Scott versus Phantasma. This is a really good match. Kind of early falls for both. No one could get the upper hand on the other, just kind of feeling each other out. There's an insecurity to the outside by Phantasma. Back in the ring, a springboard from the middle rope, Hurricane Rana from outside the ring to inside the ring by Swerve, which is pretty cool. Then another Rana by Phantasma to the outside. Swerve comes back in, gets a pump kick on the outside. There's a double knees to Swerve's face in the corner by Phantasma. Then we get a top rope Hurricane Rana by Phantasma inside the ring. He follows it up with a frog splash for a 2 count. Then they start going into an absolute deafening chop fest between the two of them, trying to make their chests look like hamburger meat. Swerve does a release delayed German suplex, which looked pretty rough. They're fighting on the outside. Swerve does a backflip, then misses a suicide dive by Phantasma. Oh, actually, I'm sorry. He misses the outside. He misses a flip on the outside, and then there's a suicide dive by Phantasma, which I mentioned last week. Does devastating, just straight missile, crown of the head to the face. Looks great. They're back in the ring fighting, and then Swerve rolls him up with a crucifix pin, which it definitely is an upset. He gets the win. There's a post-match interview. Swerve says he will not be denied when the game is on the line. He's going to take the shot. He's going to make the shot. So yeah, so that yeah, so I mean, pretty much everybody is staying pretty much even. I believe it's Jake Atlas is 1-0, 1-1 for Phantasma, 1-1 for Swerve, and 0-1 for Gallagher, I believe. Oh no, for Drake. Going into that match. No, Gallagher. Yes. So then we get Dijak. Yeah, that's right. That's not mine. Another podcast makes fun of him for being putty, but it's just so apropos. So he basically runs down Johnny and Candice, saying that they're talking smack on the establishment, but those are the same people that gave Johnny the opportunity and put him in 46,000 straight takeovers. But that he's going to challenge him to a match next week, see if he can back up his trash talk. So that's what he's going to do. So Dijak, yeah, that's right, versus Johnny Gargano, which is interesting. Obviously, they're taking Dijak off the Keith Lee, Damian Priest, North American title, Undisputed Era thing, and kind of now putting him in this. Curious to see where they go from here. If they give Johnny the win, most likely it'll be by shenanigans. Maybe they can get this feud going to their next takeover, because I'm sure both of them could put on a fantastic match together. I mean, Johnny can put on a match with anybody and make them look good, and Dijak has proven that for a man his size, he can put on just some absolute bangers. Okay, and then during the break, we get another segment Phantasma is doing. He's actually in the arena by the ring doing some kind of interview for one, I believe it's WWE Mexico or something like that, and then gets attacked once again by two luchadors. He fights them off very easily. I don't know what the luchadors were thinking. I mean, they can't even take him out in the parking lot. What were they going to do? Take him out and then drag him through the entire arena with nobody in the performance center, with nobody even stopping them or seeing them? I don't know. Maybe Phantasma is going to be a heel and he's behind all this. I don't know. It's very odd. Maybe they should kind of just go to somebody else at this point. I mean, they're 0 for 2 now, and they're looking very foolish. Just makes Mendoza and Joaquin Wilde look that much worse, that they were so easily taken. Alright, so now we get Candice LeRae versus Kacy Catanzaro, who I hadn't seen in a while, the American Ninja Warrior herself. Candice gets a new Tron, new song, new gear, new look, and a new nickname, the Pint-Sized Poison. As she comes down the ramp, Johnny shows up out of nowhere and starts being her hype man / ring announcer. Lets everyone know that she's got the best kick that's also a form of birth control. This is a pretty good match, two smaller competitors. Kacy, was out with injury, I believe, to her back or neck for a long time. So there were obviously a lot of kind of rumors swirling that she might have to retire because she can end up injuring herself, because she's so athletic and so use her gymnastics to her wrestling, but it could take a toll on her, taking all those bumps, especially because she is a smaller competitor. I guess, and then she kind of put those rumors to bed, but the problem was that, she had some kind of tweet about it, that she, wasn't leaving or anything, but we hadn't seen her on TV, and this was well before, the current situation, with the pandemic and everything, so, there was no kind of understanding of what she was going to be doing or what her role was going to be, but it was nice to see her on TV again. Candice wins, she looks great, she's the best. She wins with what she calls the Wicked Stepsister, which is basically a stomp where she grabs both women's arms and puts the foot to the back of their head and just smashes their face into the ring. And wow, it looks devastating. Really good. She then is celebrating with Johnny as they go up the ramp. She actually runs back to the ring, puts Kacy in the Gargano escape for a little bit before breaking the hold and leaving. So this is the new, improved, badass Candice that we're going to be seeing going forward, which is pretty cool. I like it. I know that they kind of hinted at it back when Johnny first turned a while ago. She was wearing all black and dark lipstick and everything, but they didn't go anywhere with it, and they kind of just pushed her back to face. So we'll see what ends up happening there. Damian Priest backstage just running things over Keith Lee, just talking smack on him. Basically, that he's been ducking him, that his throat must hurt from the hit that he put on Keith Lee last week, and that he's going to win. Standard. I'm going to beat you down promo. And then we get to the Newly Bro game. Timothy Thatcher, Matt Riddle come out, and it's a take on the Newlywed Game, hammed up, kind of corny. No, not kind of. It was very corny. It was off. The whole point is they ask somebody a question, the partner writes something down, and then the other partner answers something, but they were doing it at the same time. They had Tom Phillips do an over-the-top intro. Byron comes out all hammed up with the shiny suit. They had a laugh track in it. It was just basically kind of weed jokes and sexual innuendos that what's his name, Matt Riddle could make. That was pretty much it. They got attacked. Finally, they got attacked by Imperium, Marcel Barthel, and Fabian Eichner. Pretty big beatdown. So I'm guessing they're going to be the next ones to want to challenge for the tag titles. We then get an Adam Cole promo. He'll face Velveteen Dream next week, even though he doesn't deserve it, and he's going to be leaving the way he came in as the longest reigning NXT champion. Standard promo. Adam Cole, Bebe, is the best. Then, which I assume WWE has been doing to hope that this is going to pop ratings, but Charlotte is back. She's the NXT Women's Champion, and she challenged Mia Yim, who was her first opponent when she arrived in NXT many moons ago. For this to be hyped as what it was, Charlotte was never in danger. Mia Yim got some offense in, but Charlotte just countered everything, but was able to, just keep going. She basically no-sold Mia Yim, one of Mia Yim's old finishers, Soul Food. Now she does Protect Your Neck, but she did it. Charlotte didn't get phased with it. She wins with the figure 8. And that was it. All this stuff just makes Mia, they pushed Mia Yim at one point, gave her a title shot, gave her that storyline where she was beating down Shayna Baszler's, horsewomen, and, looking really good, putting on fantastic matches, and now she's a good hand, I guess. I don't know. Obviously Charlotte's great. She's a great competitor, but I don't care for her that much. And if you're trying to, build up this division and saying that this is such a great division, so then what, Charlotte's going to now bury the whole division? Because what ends up happening is Io Shirai comes out, who is fantastic, screaming her head off in Japanese, just don't even know what she's saying. She's just a maniac. And then finally she says, next week, Charlotte, you are mine. So now we're going to get both men's and women's NXT title shots, which is supposed to be a pretty big match. Also, we're getting the Johnny Gargano Dijak match. So it's going to be a pretty filled episode. Some solid, good matches. So we get another Karrion Kross Scarlett vignette narrated by Scarlett. Just looking forward to seeing when they're there, finding out what's going on with them and Tommaso Ciampa. We'll see. So then we see Casey Canzaro getting help backstage, and oh my god, not Lucy Lane. I think that was one of her names. Oh god, something Carter, Karen Carter, Casey Carter, something like that. Who is tagged with her before? She's got the braid. She's been in she's been in NXT, even on Raw. Forgetting her name, but they've tagged together, so she was kind of at her side. They were going to get an interview with her. Casey says, she got her neck. Casey and Johnny show up and says this is the new NXT and they need to get used to it, which I like. They're really, putting their flag down as the new heel couple, and they're going to be together and they're going to keep it together, which is nice. I like it. I want to see where this goes. Both fantastic wrestlers, both have a lot of potential as heels, so we'll see what happens. Now is and not to, not on purpose, but this is a very big head scratching moment. So last week we saw that Finn Balor's locker room was destroyed and he was nowhere to be found, giving us the impression that he was abducted. So it turns out that he was not only abducted, that he wasn't abducted, that he was just attacked in the locker room, and his locker room was trash, and Regal just gave him the night off, said you can go home. What? That makes no sense. His locker room was trash and he was attacked, but instead he didn't want to fight and he just went home. That makes him look so bad. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Finn Balor would never do that. He would come out, he's come out after beatdowns all the time. So why? Makes no sense. But apparently he'll be back next week to confront his attacker. Okay, cool. It makes no sense. This was really stupid. This is probably the stupidest part of NXT. It just made no sense to me. Next we get the serial killer himself, Dexter Lumis versus Shane Thorne. Lumis is an absolute beast, just manhandling Thorne through most of the match. Thorne does get a little offense in. He gets a rolling cannonball to Thorne in the corner. But then you could see Lumis starting to kind of hulk up or psych himself up. I don't know what you want to call it. Hits a spine buster on Shane Thorne. Does a side effect into the kata katame, which is another word for an arm triangle. Thorne passes out. Match is over. Lumis wins. Then you see Lumis in the ring, like kind of cradling Shane Thorne's head. It's really creepy, but it's so on brand for Lumis. So then we cut to a promo from last week in the parking lot between Jake Atlas and Drake Maverick. They're just putting each other over. That's pretty much it. But we go into a Drake Maverick versus Tony Nese interim cruiserweight title match. Nese is obviously the stronger of the two and the bigger of the two, and that's where he begins using his power, talking a lot of smack to Drake, saying, America loves to see you cry, Drake. America loves to see you cry. And, like, what are you going to cry? You're going to cry? Just beating him down, really trying to demoralize him because, obviously, Tony Nese already has a loss, can't afford another loss in this. But Drake starts to hulk up. He's getting slapped around. He's had enough. He takes off his wristbands because that's pretty much all he has. There's a top rope drop kick by Drake. He tries to do his corner cutter. I actually thought it was a sliced bread, but it turns out it's a corner cutter. Then Tony Nese does a German release suplex into the turnbuckle, to the bottom turnbuckles on Drake, it's so dangerous. You could totally just wreck somebody's neck with that. Luckily he didn't. He goes for the running knees, which is his knees when someone's laying in the quarter. He misses. Drake hits the corner cutter for a 2 count. He goes up to the top rope for an elbow drop, misses. Drake is selling heavily the hurt on his elbow. Then they're fighting where Tony Nese goes up to the top. Drake follows him, tries what is a Casadori into a top rope bulldog, and wins it. It was a great move, great win. Drake is just over the moon, so pumped. Then they do a post-match interview with him. He says, call him the Wolf of Wall Street or the Wolf of NXT because he's not freaking leaving yet. That he's so happy, he's so pumped. He ain't leaving. He's still here to fight. Next, we get the Damian Priest versus Keith Lee North American title, your main event. Lee had a bruised larynx from the baton attack, and he's selling that. This is an absolute hoss fight. It gets a little sluggish, a little slow at parts because they are the way they are. But overall not a bad fight. They spill it onto the outside. They go over the barricades. Lee at one point picks up overhead Priest and tosses him from the outside and has him land on the apron, which was that was impressive. I mean, he got tossed. It wasn't just it was several feet straight across from the outside on top of the apron. Lee's a big boy. Lee attempts a powerbomb back on the outside, ends up getting pushed into the barricades. He then hits a corkscrew, pescado, or tornado, whatever you want to call it, on the outside onto Priest. Priest with strikes back on the inside, then hits the broken arrow, which is just another, it's a Falcon arrow, but still impressive for a guy Lee's size. He hits a suicide dive over the top rope to the outside. Lee hits an avalanche suplex on Priest for a 2 count. Then Priest, going to the inside, grabs both the baton and the belt, hides the baton, is trying to go into the ring with the belt. The ref sees only the belt, takes the belt from him, and then the corniest part of the match, Priest grabs his baton, is about to hit him, about to hit Lee. Lee catches his hand and then says, "I am limitless." Super corny. Double chops to the chest, grabs the baton, hands it to the ref. 1 spirit bomb. Nope. 2 spirit bombs. 1, 2, 3. Lee retains. We got a lot of matches for next week. And there's your recap for NXT. And now we are at SmackDown for April 1st. It's gonna be May. Sorry, I don't know why I did that. That was corny. So we start out with Daniel Bryan versus Baron Corbin. Bryan comes out and gives a really fun promo saying he has no idea what's going to happen in this match. That, is it true that Vince has dinosaur bones in his office, and what happens if he breaks something? Will he get in trouble? But one thing he does add that, we didn't know previously is that both the men and the women will be fighting at the same time, which makes for a very interesting scramble type match. Who's going to be aligned with who? Who's going to help who? Will a woman grab the men's briefcase by accident? Will a man grab the women's briefcase by accident? Will one grab the other for helping another? Who knows? This is a very interesting wrinkle into it. There may be some intergender fighting. I don't see that. If anything, it'll probably be women fighting the men. They won't really show a man hitting a woman, but they can. It's wrestling. I don't understand why they don't. AEW has done it. But anyway, so it's going to be really interesting. Something I mentioned last week that I have not seen a lot. They didn't use they do use it, but they did not use it with the frequency that they did last week, and that's the staying, going up the corporate ladder. So, which is good. I'm happy about that. Okay, so you're gonna see a little glitch in there because my camera stopped recording. Once again, this is figuring out new things, so I'm just going to continue where I left off because I was talking for another almost 20 minutes and nothing got recorded. So I'm a little frustrated, and it's early and I'm sweating, so we're just going to run through this as best as possible. Daniel Bryan goes after Corbin's leg. Corbin goes after Daniel's shoulder. Eventually, they go to the outside. Bryan hits him with a kick. Corbin throws a ladder at him for the DQ loss. He's shocked. Nakamura and Cesaro come to the defense of Corbin, which Bryan gets thrown into ladders. From what I've heard, Sammy refuses to show up because of the pandemic, and he's been given the opportunity to do so because WWE said anyone who doesn't want to show up doesn't have to. So they're pairing Nakamura and Cesaro with Corbin for now. It's very frustrating because why is anybody following Corbin? I don't get it. We get Braun Strowman promo, once again corny, interrupted by Firefly Funhouse. That Bray says that he is, maybe he'll come back, maybe he'll make him suffer. He was the shepherd. Then his property was taken over by the government and reptilians. Braun says he wants a face-to-face. Bray doesn't respond, just waves and says goodbye. Sheamus versus Leon Ruff. Sheamus with a absolute beatdown, bro kick win. Goes over to Cole, says, is he going to talk about his best buddy Hardy? Hardy's, we get the part 4 Hardy segment, the comeback, that he's fully cleared, ready to go. He has a lot to give back, but he'll be here next week, which Sheamus says he'll be here next week. So that'll be some kind of confrontation. I assume that'll set up a match for Money in the Bank. Backstage interview with Otis and Mandy. Oh yeah, my peach. I'm going to win it for my peach. Sonya will not take away the focus for Mandy in her match with Carmella and Mandy. Pretty much standard match. Then Mandy, as Mandy's starting to mount some offense, Sonya comes out with her music on the mic, reminds everyone that she gave up her spot last week to Mandy, which was really interesting. And she even tried to help her win it. Eventually, now Sonya says she's going to come down there. Karma's a bitch. distracts Mandy for Carmella to get the super kick. She wins 1-2-3. She's going to be in the Money in the Bank. Sonya then throws a beat down on Mandy, Shining Wizard, into the back of her head, into the steps. I really like what they're doing with Sonya right now. I think that her delivery is great. Her physicality, her anger, everything is spot on right now. We then get the New Day versus Forgotten Sons. Miz and Morrison come down for commentary, and it is just absolute chuckle fest. They're all going at each other. Cole is laughing at one point to the point where Corey says they're going to have to do it on their own. You could actually see him laughing. Miz and Morrison say they're going to put Cole on a blind date with Carol Baskins. This is actually a pretty good match. Sons get a lot of offense back and forth. Sons actually get the surprise win with their finisher after Big E goes for an attempted spear to the outside. Jackson Ryker throws him into the ring post. They get their death drop stomp combination on Kofi. 1, 2, 3. Miz and Morrison are chanting, "You deserve it." Just the whole back and forth with them on commentary is just absolutely great. I spoke a lot more about it. Unfortunately, it didn't get recorded, but if you've seen it, you know what I'm talking about. Backstage interview with Tamina. Sasha comes out trying to be friends. Bayley comes from the other side for an attack. Lacey Evans comes out to make the save. We all know where this is going, and sure enough, yes, we do. Tag team match next week. We also find out there's going to be a gauntlet match for the final spot on Raw, on this episode of Raw. So I've heard rumors that it could be Jinder or it could be Andrade. Not sure. We get another backstage segment with Sonya and Dolph. Excuse me. Sonya's going to just ruin her life, beat her down. I really like their pairing. I like what's going on between the two of them. Dolph says after Sonya, gives her an epic beatdown, he'll slide in and make sure Mandy's okay, and insert slide DM joke all you want. Then we get our main event, and that's Otis versus Dolph. Dolph gets pounced to start the match. Otis is using his power. Eventually, they move to the outside where Dolph is able to get some offense in. He starts hitting Otis in the gut, which is obviously not a smart move because that just fires him up and kind of starts doing his war dance, his fist pumps, his pelvic thrusts. He goes for a caterpillar, fails. Then Dolph goes for the Famouser, fails. Then hits him with a zigzag for a 2 count, least protected finisher in all of WWE, maybe besides the Skull Crushing finale. Goes for a super kick. Otis picks him up, tosses him, goes for the caterpillar win, and that's it. Otis will be in Money in the Bank. I'm a little shocked that they're doing the caterpillar as a finisher, especially with no real setup. Obviously, The Rock used the People's Elbow as a finisher, but he at least set it up with a rock bottom first. And when he didn't, he never got the 3 count. Well, I'm sure he got the 3 count once in a while, but early on. Anyways, so that is my quick recap for SmackDown. I gave a little more in depth. Unfortunately, everything did not get recorded. So it's a little frustrating. So anyway, yes, that is my SmackDown recap for May 1st. And now we're going to be, as always, doing my match of the week. I think I got it right. Once again, I'm not sure. Anyway, for the second week in a row, Drake Maverick, congratulations. You are match of the week winner. Let's face it, it was a fantastic match between two great competitors, both Tony Nese and Drake Maverick. You had the storyline of the interim Cruiserweight tournament. You had the storyline of Drake's fight to kind of stay here at WWE because, let's face it, as far as we know, he doesn't win this tournament, he's gone. He's been released officially and in storyline. We feel for him because we all feel he's a good competitor. He can do the comedy. He can do the serious. He can talk on the mic. He is an all-around, he's got the whole package. Unfortunately, if he was maybe like 6'2", Vince would love him. I mean, let's face it. The fact that he's basically Rockstar Spud, is his detriment. So, it was a fantastic match. Completely shocked the hell out of me. I thought he was going to lose every match and they were going to just send him on his way. That's just what they do. So I thought that was going to happen. They didn't let that happen, which was great. So once again, match of the week, Drake Maverick versus Tony Nese. See, maybe he'll go for the hat trick next week. We'll see what ends up happening. So anyway, next week will be the go-home shows for Raw and SmackDown. for Money in the Bank. As I said, I'll be doing a preview, predictions, as well as a review recap. Not sure if I'm going to have anything, special planned for them, but I'm thinking of things. Obviously, it's a lot better when you have, listeners, viewers, subscribers. But, we'll see. Once again, don't forget to like, share, subscribe to my channel so I can get an actual normal working URL and not just a, word salad that I can't pronounce or even read off because it makes no sense. Follow me at my social media, both Twitter and Instagram there. And until next week. Whew, that was tough. Oh, man, I really need a haircut here. This quarantine is killing me. A haircut, you say? No, I'm good. I mean, you're not even a real barber. What is up with your neck?